So now we're going to use our normal distribution and the empirical rule to be able to answer some questions about what percentage of the data lies in different regions of our distribution. So the first thing to do with this is to create a sketch of our normal distribution so that we can label it and be able to then use that to be able to answer our questions. So what we had saw in the last video was that 68% of the data is within one standard deviation of the mean. So if my mean is directly in the middle, 68% is within the +1 and -1 region, which then means we can break that in half and say that 34% is on the left side and then 34% is on the right side. And then we continue that and we found that 13.5% was between the -2 and -1. And then we had 13.5% between the +1 and the +2 sections. And then we have one region over where we get that 2.35% is in that region. And then the last tiny section underneath, we have 0.15% for all of our percentages for each of the 8 regions of our normal distribution. So now we can use this to answer our questions. The first one, we actually don't quite need the normal distribution picture yet to answer this, but it's asking us what percent lies below the mean. So if we think about our picture here for our distribution, our mean is directly in the middle, and we know that the distribution's symmetric, meaning that when we essentially cut our distribution right down the middle, that's breaking it in half. So that means that 50% is below the mean. And now you could take all of those percentages, the 34 plus 13.5 plus 2.35 plus 0.15, and you will get it to be 50% if you add all those together. The next question is asking us what percent of the data lies more than 2 standard deviations above the mean. So now this means that I'm going to go to my +2 on my picture here, and now I want my percentages that are above that because we're going more than 2 standard deviations above the mean. So that's giving us these 2 top regions of our picture, which are labeled as being 2.35% plus our 0.15%. So now we can add those together, and this gives us that 2.5% lies more than 2 standard deviations above the mean. Next one, we want to know what percent is less than 1 standard deviation above the mean. So now we can go to our +1 above the mean. And now we want to know what percent is less than that. We already know that 50% is below the mean. So sort of this region here is 50%. And now we just need to bring in that extra additional 34% in that middle region there for between the mean and the +1 to give us 84% is less than 1 standard deviation above the mean. And then lastly, we want to know what percent of the data is between 2 standard deviations below the mean and 1 standard deviation above the mean. So let's go to 2 standard deviations below the mean. So at our -2, and I'm going to mark that. And then I want 1 standard deviation above the mean, so add our +1, and I'm going to mark that. And now I want to know what percent is between that. So we have 13.5 plus 34 plus 34, and this gives us 81.5% of the data is between 2 standard deviations below and 1 standard deviation above